So we have the Nord Piano Monitor V2 and the iLoud micro monitors here today with us. These are both compact studio monitor type speakers that are designed to be used in small rooms. They're not, for large studios. They're just for kind of small to medium studio type environments. But they both work really well as piano monitors for something like the Nord Piano or another keyboard for that matter. The Nord Piano monitors are kind of custom built, purpose built for the Nord to mount on metal brackets and swivel and to have the right height, and they're just kind of designed to work perfectly for that. They're even kind of EQ'd and tailored to sound good with the pianos. The iLoud micro monitors are just a very compact studio monitor with a very, very linear and good frequency response, and for the size, really both of them put out a tremendously good amount of sound and quality. So what I want to do here is just show you how they compare to each other. I want to say that this is not really meant to tell you how they sound, although I'm using a decent set of condenser mics with an ORTF pattern with the spacing to mimic what I'm hearing as close as possible in the room. It's going to sound similar, but it's just not going to be the same as being in this room, especially because I don't know what your headphones and speakers sound like that you're using on. So really the purpose of this is just going to be to compare how they sound to each other, to give a sound comparison. That way you can tell for your purposes, do you think it's worth spending $300 or $700? It's a pretty big price difference, and we're going to just jump right into this. I'm going to show you a comparison and let you hear them side by side. I'll try to stay out of the way as much as possible with the speakers if I remember, and let's see what you think. We'll start with the iLoud micro monitors here. So this is the iLoud. We'll jump right over to the Nord monitors. Play the same thing here, give you an idea. I'll switch right back. Play some high notes here. Switch right over. Let's try that again here. So you'll immediately see that the iLouds are a little bit clearer, maybe more pristine, with a little bit of a thinner sound. The studio monitors by Nord are a little bit thicker and more velvety and warm, but they do lack a little bit of the more pristine, fine details, especially in the high treble. If you were to compare like iLoud is doing the same thing. You can pick out all the little details a little bit better. But they also go really low and sound good, so ready? And then the Nord. So they both hit pretty deep. They have a good high treble extension. The Nord's just a little bit more intimate, warm and smooth and velvety, and the iLoud is a little bit more clear and pristine and linear, at the cost of maybe sounding a little less full, a little more thin. But here's the big thing about these. Both of them are very capable for their size. So with a little bit of EQ, they can kind of be twisted into sounding like each other. So let me just show you. This is the Nord. So if I take the EQ and just kind of tweak it here, I can cut a little bit of the mids and then maybe boost a little bit of the highs. And what you end up with here is something closer to the iLoud. Ready? Let's turn it off. Let's go to a grand piano, maybe just a little bit better, fuller sound to hear. See, it kind of makes it a little bit more bright and clear and smooth without distorting the sound too much. Now the same thing with the iLoud speakers. You can take the mids and I think let's say 500 hertz, bump that up a little bit and then make the treble a little bit more rolled off. And then what you have is with it off, so you can kind of get them to sound closer to each other. Go back to the Nord, do the same thing here, kind of cut a little bit out and maybe boost a little here. So you have you can kind of tweak it and maybe do a little bit less than I'm cutting, maybe a little bit less bass cutting. Hope that gives you a little bit of an impression of how these compare. They both are very, very capable of going all the way to the extremes. So I mean, they're both very capable of sounding a lot larger than they look. Giving a nice sort of a reference sound where the iLoud is a little bit leaning towards more detailed and and clear, and the Nord is leaning towards a little bit more warm and woolly and inviting maybe. So the question will be, do you value that type of sound first of all? How is your room layout? Do you have an echoey room? Do you have a small and dead and quiet room? How far are your speakers from the wall? There's a lot of acoustic things to take into account. I think that with either of them, in an average living room, you're probably not going to go wrong. The Nords are going to put out a little bit more raw power, but the iLouds are very capable to go plenty loud enough than a real piano would sound. In like an upright piano right here, I used to have one, it's over there. The iLouds are able to give me a volume that's similar to that easily, and the Nords can hit a little bit deeper, they extend a little bit deeper, but the iLouds have a little bit more clarity and linearity in the very high frequencies, so they'll pull out a little bit more detail. So it's kind of which direction you want to go, and then you also have to take into account the purpose-built nature of the Nords. They have metal brackets, so they're kind of permanently mounted on the keyboard. They look nice, they swivel a little bit here if you don't tighten them too much. They are angled right at your ears, so it's perfect for the player. They're not intended for someone out there, they're meant for you playing the piano. And if those things are all attractive to you, the aesthetic, the purpose-built nature of it, having no stands and things like that is really nice, then the Nord pianos are awesome, but they're $700, comes with everything you need. And the iLouds are $300. Now the iLouds are very compact and very small, so you could easily simply just put this on the Nord piano. They don't slide, they have rubber feet. They're a little bit lower, you could tilt the bottoms out like that and it aims them up a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's still close enough that you're not going to have a huge difference in sound, but you could easily probably get PVC or wood and threaded screws and make your own mount that would fit into the bottom of these. These take a 3/8 inch microphone stand, so you could easily get a bolt, kind of jerry-rig something yourself to make your stands like the Nord for the iLoud, and that's actually what I'm planning on doing. You could mount them on small shelves on the wall or directly to the wall, or put them on the piano, or put them on stands, put them on microphone stands. I mean, whatever you want to do. They're very flexible, they're very small, they're very light. So I think that either really works well in a tight space, and they both look nice. The Nords do stand out a little bit more because they're larger and they're red, but they also kind of match the aesthetic, whereas the iLouds are kind of small and dark, so they don't really stand out as much. I think that either is really good, and I think someone would be happy with either, with the great sound of the Nord, or any keyboard for that matter. They're a great monitor. For the price, I feel like the Nord is overpriced. I can get a much better studio monitor for $400, $300, even better than the iLouds, excuse me. But they are going to be a little bit larger, and they're going to need to have, thicker power cables running down, and they're just not going to look as nice. But I mean, if you set it up nice and you have the space, it might work well for you. I have an Alesis MK1 biamp something or other studio monitors that are very linear. They're very full and clear. They have a really good sound, and they're a little bit larger than these, but not much larger. So that would be a great option for $400 for the pair. So with the ability to get the sound quality at that price, these are so expensive. They're almost twice the price as an equivalent or better sounding monitor. The only thing you're getting with these above and beyond is the look matches the synth or the keyboard. They're well built. They're purpose built to mount to the Nord, so they are very compact, not cluttered, and they work well as a full total experience. And if that's something you really desire, then they're excellent. They're phenomenal speakers for the size and the design. They're just expensive. For me personally, I can't justify the sound difference from the iLoud. I think the iLouds are just so good and a little bit clearer, and with that EQ you can tweak either one to sound very similar. So right on board, you don't even need any external hardware. A couple little tweaks. So I think the iLoud is a much better value proposition, and you can easily take those iLouds and move them anywhere you want, plug them into something else, whereas the Nords, being on the stands like that, they're a little bit more permanent, although it's not too hard to move them. But the iLoud and the Nords both have auxiliary inputs, and the Nord you could pass through an MP3 and hear it while you play. The iLoud has the advantage of also having built-in Bluetooth, so you could listen to music in your living room from your phone or something and not have to hook anything up. That's a really nice added bonus, and then sit down and switch it over and play the piano on the direct input. So that's a really nice feature, and again, it's less expensive. So I think the iLoud is a much better value but they both sound very good, and I hope that this has given you a little insight as to how they compare to each other, and that A, for the size, they're phenomenal, and B, compared to each other, I think the iLoud is most, if not all, of the quality of the Nord. It's just a different tuning with maybe just a little bit less low extension. But for sitting in front of a piano in a quiet room, I think they're both sufficient and they're going to sound great. If you're a very, very exacting studio musician, you're probably going to want a larger full range studio monitor, maybe even a subwoofer. They both allow subwoofer outputs, so you could connect a subwoofer. As an engineer, I would recommend that you get a 10 or 12 inch subwoofer. Excuse me. I'd recommend that you get a 10 or 12 inch subwoofer. Get a crossover so that it's perfectly balanced right at the, say, like the 80 or 100 hertz that these speakers start to drop off at. And then tune it so the subwoofer is just audible so that you hear the extended depth, but you're not noticing it. You don't want to hear rumble. You don't want to hear deep bass. I mean, maybe you do. But if you want it to sound like piano, you just want it to be there when it's needed and gone when it's not. And that would be the ultimate listening experience. But for just a compact, simple setup, I think these are probably the best two options out there. This for the more streamlined, integrated, compatible, aesthetic type sound with a little bit of an inviting warmth to it. And these for the value, the clarity, and just the compact nature of them. So hope that helps you. Hope you get a good sound. Put on a nice pair of headphones in a quiet room, the best headphones you can, and just kind of listen to the difference in the sound. Don't worry about how good it sounds per se, but listen to how they differ from each other, and you can kind of get a gauge of the difference between them. And then if you like those, grab them. If you like those, save $400 and grab those. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions at all, just let me know, and I'll catch you later.